Greetings, shinobi of the digital realm. This is Six Path Weeb, transmitting from the crossroads of fan fiction and high-concept anime theory. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a space where we decode alternate realities, explore untold stories, and reimagine the worlds we love through a speculative lens. Today's fanfic exploration continues with What if Naruko had the Byakugan? Part 3. An intersection of Hyuga precision and Uzumaki potential, where inherited legacy meets overwhelming power. Witness a timeline shaped by divergence, not destiny. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in these videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's begin. 10 minutes, my. Kiba. Shikamaru cut in, his voice sharp. Now's not the time to complain. We need to focus on getting to shelter. The storm had reached the island earlier than Kakashi predicted, and now the team was urgently looking for cover. Up ahead. Hinata called, shielding her face from the sudden hail. There's a cave in the rock face. A few challenging moments later, the group made it inside, shivering but safe from the downpour for now. I know we're all exhausted, Shikamaru began once everyone had settled, and believe me, I'd rather lie down too, but we need to talk through a few plans first. I agree, Naruko added, standing with a determined look. Everyone turned their attention to her. But before we do that, there's something else we need to take care of. Sasuke, she looked to the quiet boy. Sakura, she turned to the pink-haired Kunoichi, we need firewood. With the rain and hail, the sooner we gather it, the better. Can I count on you two to help me? Sasuke nodded, and Sakura followed suit. We'll be back soon. Can it wait until then? I'll go too, Kiba offered. That way we can split up and cover more ground. Be careful, Shikamaru called as the group left the cave. Dash. Kiba. It's no use, I groaned. Everything's either soaked or still too fresh to burn. Have you ever heard of squaw wood? Naruko asked as she examined a cluster of trees. Squaw wood? Yeah. It's more of a condition than a type. Even when wet, it still catches fire. I glanced around at the scattered pieces of wood on the ground, trying to make sense of what she meant. Like I said, Naruko returned with 2 pieces of wood in hand. Squaw wood is dry, even if it doesn't look like it. Try these, see if you can tell the difference. She handed me the 2 sticks. One was heavier and damp, the other was surprisingly light. That's squaw wood, Naruko explained. It's in between stages, not living and not quite decayed. It doesn't hold moisture, which makes it great for fires even in bad weather. You'll usually find it still attached to trees. Hinata demonstrated by easily breaking a dry limb from a nearby tree. So why search the ground? I asked, getting increasingly tired of the freezing rain and hail. Because the storm just started, Naruko shouted over the thunder. Some wood on the ground might still be dry underneath, better to grab it now before it soaks through. She had a point. I nodded, understanding the logic. How do you know all this? Her eyes briefly darkened, then she replied softly, let's just say I had to learn some things the hard way. I didn't press. Everyone had their past. All right, I shouted, trying to stay upbeat despite the storm. Let's grab what we can and get out of here. Couldn't agree more. She called back. Dash. Shikamaru. Ino had been complaining nonstop since the others left. It was starting to wear thin. I can't believe Teiko did this to us, she said for the 4th time. I ran through a hand seal just to make sure this wasn't a genjutsu. No such luck. What was he thinking? Saying the storm was far off, and now we're stuck in a cave while he disappears. When I see him tomorrow, he's going to hear about this. Ino, I sighed, I doubt he misled us on purpose. I don't care. She huffed. I just want this to be over so I can sleep in my own bed. Don't get too hopeful, Kuji murmured, peering into the storm. This doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. He wasn't wrong. I glanced around at the others in the cave, none of us were survival experts. Sure, we had academy training, but that was controlled. The only 2 among us who truly knew how to handle this kind of thing were Sasuke and Naruko. We needed to talk about leadership when they returned. In times like these, having someone experienced take the lead could make the difference between getting through or getting overwhelmed. Wake up. Ino tossed a ration bar at me. I caught it reflexively. Shika, Kuji said, concern in his voice. You all right? I nodded. We'll talk more when the others return. How long do you think this storm will last? Shino asked quietly. All eyes turned to him. I'm not sure, I admitted, rubbing my chin. From what I saw earlier, it might last a few days. Maybe even a few weeks. What? Ino shouted in disbelief. Calm down, Hinata said gently. We're shinobi. We've trained for conditions like this. It's just a little discomfort, we'll manage. Ino still looked like she might cry. So troublesome. I muttered. Kiba. Alright, that should do it for me. You ready, Naruko? She balanced a log with her foot and flipped it into her arms. Yeah, this should last us the night. We were soaked. I was sure I'd be sore from all the hail by morning. We met up at the rendezvous point, waiting for Sasuke and Sakura. How long do you think this storm will last? I shouted. No idea, Naruko replied, turning to face me. But it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. Could be a while. That was worrying. Our instructors had warned us to always look deeper than the obvious, and this definitely felt like one of those times. I see them. Sasuke and Sakura appeared, their arms full of firewood. Looks like you found some luck, Sasuke called out. Yeah, thanks to Naruko we're all set. Let's get back. Wait, do you hear that? Sakura suddenly asked. A deep rumble echoed from the north. I turned my head. Oh no. Mudslide. Run, Naruko shouted. Shikamaru. They're taking forever. The cave was getting colder. Most of us had ditched our outer layers due to the soaking rain. Just then, the four of them rushed into the cave, looking alarmed. Get away from the entrance. Kiba called. What? Why? Ino asked. Ino, move, I shouted, grabbing supplies. Kuji reacted fast, using his partial expansion to grab packs. The rain triggered Kiba didn't finish. The cave rumbled and mud flooded the entrance, burying where we'd just been sitting. Naruko quickly set down the firewood, and Shino nodded. So that's what had my insects uneasy, a mudslide. Yeah. Not sure how it built up so fast, but we're lucky this cave faced the storm. Let's warm up, I said. You four are soaked. Put your clothes by the fire to dry. Naruko had already started undressing before I even finished speaking. Hey. Ino blushed. There are girls here, you know. There are only shinobi here, Sasuke replied calmly, removing his wet clothing. Survival comes first. We can leave our underclothes on, Naruko suggested, glancing toward Sakura. They'll dry near the fire too. Sakura looked grateful. Sasuke, would you start the fire? I asked. You're the only one good with fire-style jutsu. He gave a rare smirk and formed a hand seal. As the fire crackled, Naruko smiled. We all know each other from the academy, but we don't know each other personally. Let's fix that. I'll start. Since you volunteered, go ahead, Kiba chuckled. Okay. I grew up an orphan until I awakened my Byakugan and was adopted into the Hyuga clan. I specialize in gentle fist techniques. I enjoy ramen, gardening, spending time with friends, and training. So this whole storm's like a training camp for you, huh? Kiba teased. Not exactly, Naruko laughed. I like a little more predictability. Your turn. Alright, Kiba said. I'm from the Inuzuka clan. I have a sister and a mom, both strong women, let's just say they're intense. I don't know much about my dad, and my mom avoids the topic. I work with my partner Akamaru, though he's not here this time. My clan uses enhanced senses, especially smell, and we use soldier pills during missions to help with chakra-intensive techniques. He looked to Shikamaru, signaling it was his turn. My turn, I guess, Shikamaru began with a thoughtful look. Both of my parents are doing well, but I don't have any siblings. My father is on the council and serves as Konoha's lead strategist. My clan, the Nara, specializes in shadow techniques. We use shadows in creative ways, for example, to restrict movement or influence positioning. People often say I'm smart, but honestly, it's just how my family is. We're trained to think critically and outmaneuver situations using both shadows and strategy. Kuji? I'm an only child, too, Kuji said with a friendly smile. My mom stays at home, and my dad, Akimichi Kuza, is also part of the council. My clan's known for our calorific jutsu. That's why I'm bigger. Our techniques change our size and strength by using chakra and calories. I know a few basic earth-style jutsu too, but I still have a lot to learn. Ino? My parents run a flower shop in town, Ino replied. But my dad, Inoiki, is the clan head and a member of the council too. We specialize in techniques involving the mind. Some jutsu let us communicate mentally or even read memories. I'm still learning the more advanced ones. Sakura? My parents aren't around anymore, Sakura said quietly. They were gone shortly after I joined the academy, so I live by myself now. I only know the basic academy jutsu and my taijutsu is okay. But I do understand techniques well, and I try to learn quickly. I don't talk much, so you'll probably learn more from my actions than my words. She nodded toward Sasuke. I'm the only one left in my family, Sasuke said simply. My clan specialized in powerful fire-style jutsu. I'm still learning the taijutsu that's unique to my clan, but it's difficult without having activated the Sharingan, our special ability. I am Aburame Shino, said the quiet boy with tinted glasses. My father is Aburame Shibi, also on the council. We work with special insects that live in harmony with us. They feed on our chakra, and in return, they can help us in various ways, like tracking, defending, or even breaking through obstacles. That's pretty cool, Naruko said with interest. Shikamaru gave a small nod of agreement. Ino shivered slightly. I'm Hyuga Hinata, heir to the Hyuga clan, Hinata introduced herself softly. My father is the clan head and also on the council. I have a younger sister named Hanabi, who is next in line after me. My mom passed away a while ago. I practice the gentle fist style and I've been thinking about ways to adapt it for longer range use. So now that we've all introduced ourselves, Shikamaru began again. Wait, Kiba cut in. Doesn't this seem kind of weird? What do you mean? Ino asked, tilting her head. Most of us are from major clans or connected to the council. Doesn't that feel a little too convenient? Not everyone's from a clan, Shino replied. Naruko and Sakura, for example. But you're right, it's something we might want to ask about when we speak with the instructor after this trial. Kiba nodded in agreement. Anyway, Shikamaru continued, we should establish a basic chain of command. Why? Ino asked, confused. Shikamaru sighed. Because if we want to stay safe out here, we need to stay organized. Ino's eyes widened. You mean this could be dangerous? Yes, Ino, Shikamaru replied seriously. Just think about that mudslide earlier. If we hadn't moved, someone could have been seriously hurt. If we don't work together, we won't be able to get through this safely. He's right, Kuji added calmly, placing a hand on Shikamaru's shoulder. Exactly, Naruko nodded. We need a structure. Those who've had experience surviving alone or outdoors should help lead. That would be Naruko, me, and Sakura, Sasuke chimed in. Right, Shikamaru nodded. Sakura and I can help with planning, but all of us will need to contribute. We'll need food, shelter, and a way out. For now, I say we rest. We've got a busy day tomorrow. 2 hours later, Ino. I can't believe this is happening, Ino whispered to herself. Try not to worry, came a quiet voice. Ino turned in surprise. Hinata? Why are you awake? I've had some dreams lately, Hinata admitted. But what about you, Ino? You look worried. The gentle tone in Hinata's voice made it easier to speak. I almost quit our training not long ago, Ino confessed, eyes lowered. It's harder than I expected. I wanted to be strong, but I'm not sure I'm ready. Then let me ask you this, Hinata said softly. Why are you doing this? For yourself? For someone else? My dad, Ino admitted. He's always supported us. I just want to make him proud. I think you already have, Hinata said with a kind smile. I used to watch the other kids leave the academy with their parents. Your father always came to get you. You may not notice it, but to someone like me, it was easy to see how much he cares. Ino's eyes softened. Thank you, Hinata. So the real question is, do you still want to do this? Ino didn't answer right away, lost in thought. Think about it, Hinata said as she turned back toward the camp. Wait, Hinata? Yes? You asked me why I'm doing this. What about you? Hinata paused, looking toward the camp. I'm doing this because I want to follow someone I really admire. She didn't have to say who. The warmth in her eyes said enough. Ino smiled. I understand. 9 hours later. A rumbling sound stirred the young shinobi from their sleep. Sakura blinked in surprise. A massive tree root had broken through the cave wall, creating an opening. Finally, Sakura said with relief, only to wince. What's wrong? Ino gasped, feeling the same pressure in her lungs. Hinata remained calm while the others struggled to breathe. There's something in the air. Sakura muttered. Ino examined the walls and gasped. This isn't good. The cave has mold, dangerous spores. When we lit the fire last night, it probably activated them. We need to get out now. Everyone began packing quickly. Too much exposure could make us really sick, Ino explained, helping Kuji. She looked over at Naruko, blinking. You're not having trouble breathing. Are you okay? Maybe? I feel fine, Naruko said, tilting her head. You must have an amazing immune system, Ino commented, impressed. So, where to now? Kiba asked as they looked out into the rainy terrain. Someplace higher and safer, Sasuke replied. We need shelter that's natural and can hold up in this weather. Is everyone ready? Naruko asked, glancing at the group. 7 nods followed. She turned to Sasuke, who gave a small nod. Without another word, the group set off toward their next destination. 2 weeks. It had been 2 weeks since the storm first began, and the island looked entirely different from how it had before. New lakes had formed where flatlands once stretched, and most of the well-worn trails had been erased by debris and the relentless rush of water and hail. The hurricanes had struck multiple times, each one seeming to arrive just when the shinobi thought it was finally safe. Despite the island's harsh conditions, the group managed to keep their spirits high. So far, the only injuries had been minor. Even when a flying tree branch had struck Kiba, Sakura's growing skill in medical jutsu ensured he was quickly treated. If not for her swift action, the situation could have been more difficult. The native animals had mostly gone into hiding, but the group had occasionally found small animals or fish that were stranded by the storm. All in all, they were managing. Until today. Naruko, Hinata, Sakura, and Kuji had ventured near the coastline in hopes of finding food. Supplies were dwindling, and fishing seemed their best option. Unfortunately, they didn't get that far. Hinata. Sakura called out an alarm as the Hyuga heiress held tightly onto a branch. The twister had appeared suddenly, so fast that it seemed to materialize just as they stepped beyond the tree line. Kuji quickly extended his arm to help her, while Naruko sprinted up the tree to grab her hand. But both were just seconds too late. The branch gave way. And the last thing Kuji saw was Naruko catching Hinata as they were pulled toward the ocean by the force of the wind. Dash. Gone? What do you mean gone? Ino cried, as Kuji tried to explain what had happened. Exactly what I said. They were swept away by the storm. Oh no. We'll see them again, Sasuke said firmly. His tone gave Ino pause. If anyone could make it through something like that, it's those two. Sasuke's right, Shikamaru added. But we have another issue. Food and water are running low. I hate saying it, but we can't focus all our efforts on looking for them. If we use up all our energy searching, we might not be in any condition to help if they return. We have to trust them to find their way back. You can't be serious, Ino shouted, but after a moment of silence, she knew there was truth in his words. She clenched her fists, silently hoping her friends were safe. If they get close enough, I'll know, Shino finally spoke. I placed a few of my kikaiku with them. The females release a scent detectable only by the males of their species. I can track them if they're nearby. Ino blinked. Shino. That's both amazing and honestly kind of unsettling. You'll get used to it, he replied calmly. Dash. Still no signs of chakra residue or summoning activity, one Anbu agent, codenamed Deer, said thoughtfully. It's like the tree formed naturally. This is a chakra storm, Bear, another masked Anbu, reminded him. You weren't expecting a normal result, were you? No, Deer admitted, but I hoped for some clue. The situation leaves us with 3 possibilities. Someone created this, the storm itself caused it. Or. He paused. This is a chakra storm, he repeated. It accelerates the development of any living thing it touches for too long, right? Bear nodded. That means. Could one of the individuals have caused this unconsciously? Bear froze in thought. We need to return to camp. The Hokage needs to hear this. Dash. The cave was damp, dark, and unwelcoming. Naruko carefully placed the unconscious Hinata several feet away from the cave entrance, out of the chill wind. Whether or not the cave was known to their instructors didn't matter, Naruko had found it by chance, and it was the best hope they had right now. We can't risk going back into the water while those twisters are still happening. She muttered, checking on Hinata's condition. Her lips are blue. She's getting cold. Thinking quickly, Naruko removed her damp jacket and wrapped it gently around Hinata to help her warm up. They're soaked, but it's better than nothing. You just need to warm up. After about 10 minutes of cautious exploring, Naruko discovered a passage that led deeper into the cave. After a moment's hesitation, she decided it was worth the risk. It might be their only way out. 2 days had passed since Naruko and Hinata were swept away. Though Shikamaru had told Ino they couldn't focus solely on looking for them, he'd quietly led the group toward areas where they might logically set up shelter, using food gathering as the official excuse. He and Sasuke shared a quiet understanding. The others might not know, but Shikamaru hadn't given up on their friends. Not even close. They had survived together. Struggled together. Encouraged each other when things got hard. They weren't just teammates anymore, they were a team in the truest sense. They were family. This isn't looking good, Sasuke said quietly as they scouted yet another location. I know, Shikamaru replied. But they wouldn't give up on us. So we won't give up on them. He watched the others in the clearing. Ino helping Kuji gather berries, smiling and chatting as if trying to keep the atmosphere light. Shikamaru sighed. They have no idea how much this mission is changing us. Makuten? Kakashi stared at the two Anbu in disbelief. You're saying one of the trainees is using Makuten? Yes, sir, Deer answered with calm certainty. You realize what that would mean, don't you? The Shodai Hokage's would release was unique. Unless someone from that lineage survived outside the records. We understand what it implies, Bear added carefully. Kakashi was silent for a long moment. Tenzo. You've just touched on a highly classified matter, he said seriously. This conversation never happened. Is that clear? Yes, Captain, both replied in unison. Naruko mentally groaned. She had jinxed herself. Things had gone from bad to worse. Hinata still hadn't woken up and now had a fever. On top of that, Naruko had tried to climb a cliff to scout ahead, only to slip and injure her leg. It was sore and stiff, though thankfully not serious. And then she'd misjudged her chakra output while attempting to walk across a small underground lake. With Hinata on her back, she'd underestimated the extra weight, and sank halfway into the icy water before stabilizing herself. The worst part? No matter how far they traveled, the tunnel didn't seem to end. The deeper they went, the more chakra saturated the walls seemed. Even when she activated the Byakugan she'd learned to use in training simulations, it was useless, everything glowed with chakra, making it impossible to find a clear path. So Naruko did the only thing she could do, she kept moving. And Naruko? Her eyes widened with relief. Hinata. You're awake. How do you feel? Hinata slowly looked around. Where are we? I'm not sure, Naruko admitted, holding a small torch she'd made from fallen branches and a basic fire technique. We were pulled into the ocean, and I found this cave. We've been following the path upward, hoping it leads to the surface. Hinata looked down at herself, noticing she was wearing Naruko's jacket. Naruko caught the glance. Don't take it off. You were too cold earlier. You needed something to stay warm. Hinata nodded, still tired. I feel sleepy. That's okay, Naruko reassured her, lifting her carefully. You rest. I'll keep carrying you. We'll find our way out, together. We leave in a few hours, the man said, sorting through a stack of documents on his desk. This kind of celestial phenomenon only occurs once every century. We can't afford to let this opportunity slip through our fingers. The group standing before him bowed respectfully. Gather everything you'll need. Once we arrive, we begin work immediately. We won't be leaving until the storm clears, so prepare for a prolonged assignment. With a flash, the group vanished using high-speed movement, leaving the man alone in his office. He folded his hands together and whispered to himself. Thank you for this opportunity, Raikage-sama. Once we're finished, the Hidden Leaf Village won't know what's coming. Run. Panicked cries echoed through the air, barely audible over the roar of crimson flames. The world blurred through smoke and chaos as buildings shook and collapsed, sending wood and dust flying into the atmosphere. But even amid the chaos, something more terrifying lingered. There was a presence, something overwhelming. Something no fire or disaster could fully explain. A figure emerged in the distance. Tall, cloaked in shadow, approaching with deliberate, rhythmic steps. Each footfall felt like it resonated within the very ground itself, as if the air grew heavier with each stride. She couldn't look away. It neared, closer, closer still, until the moment was shattered. The vision vanished, leaving only a searing impression burned into her consciousness. Her body trembled, her mind screaming with clarity as one phrase etched itself into her memory. "Beware the destroyer of worlds." Hinata bolted upright with a scream, her chest heaving. It took her several seconds to realize the scream had come from her own mouth. Her body trembled as she held her arms tightly around herself. Tears streaked down her cheeks. "It was just a dream," whispered a gentle voice next to her, Naruko's. But Hinata knew better. This wasn't just a dream. It couldn't be. No ordinary nightmare ever left behind such intense fear, such overwhelming emotion. She remembered the aura of power from that being. Her father's strength, once unmatched in her mind, felt like a candle flickering against a roaring storm by comparison. "And Naruko," she whispered shakily. "What's wrong?" Naruko asked softly, sitting beside her. "Have you ever heard of someone called the Destroyer of Worlds?" Naruko blinked, her brows knitting in confusion. "I don't think so." "Never mind, then," Hinata murmured, trying to dismiss the thought, though the chill in her bones wouldn't fade. Her stomach growled at that exact moment, breaking the tension. Embarrassed, Hinata looked down, cheeks flushed. The torchlight had long since faded, and in the pitch-black cave, Naruko couldn't see the blush, thankfully. "I'll check near the lake we passed earlier," Naruko said with a light-hearted tone, removing her jacket. "Maybe we'll get lucky and find some fish. Hope you like forest-style sushi." "That sounds great, Naruko," Hinata replied with a small, grateful smile. "All right, I'll be back soon." After Naruko had left, Hinata lay back down, eyes wide open. Sleep would not come again, not after what she had seen. "This place is perfect." "Huh? What's perfect?" Kuji asked, scanning the wide interior of the cave. "This cave," Shikamaru explained. "It's the best we've seen. Spacious, clean, and stable. We could actually settle here for a while." Kuji took a good look. There was a natural pool in the corner, the walls were solid and dry, and the ceiling arched high above their heads. It was certainly a safe haven compared to the cramped spaces they'd been hiding in before. "Time to start storing supplies instead of just scavenging," Sasuke said as he arrived. "Exactly," Shikamaru replied. This felt like progress. Their first real step forward. 2 weeks had passed since Naruko and Hinata had been pulled into the sea, 2 weeks separated from their allies in the Hidden Leaf. They had no concept of time underground, but their instincts knew, they had been away too long. Naruko's body felt different now, cold, like her internal temperature had lowered in response to the subterranean chill. But that was quickly forgotten as they finally emerged into the open. The heat of the surface air washed over them. "Wow! What is it, Naruko?" Hinata asked. "I wasn't sure we'd actually make it out. I swear we circled this island a few hundred times," Naruko joked. "It definitely felt like it," Hinata laughed softly. "My feet feel like they might just fall off." "Want to rest?" "Not yet. Wait, do you hear that?" Naruko nodded. Faint shouting. "Let's check it out," she said, and in a flash, they vanished into the trees. "Do you see that?" Sasuke asked Shikamaru, his eyes activated, scanning the area. Shikamaru nodded slowly. "Yeah, something's off. I see chakra being funneled into that machine. Whatever it's doing, it's not good." "Foreigners. What are they even doing on this island?" Sasuke muttered. "Nothing peaceful," Shikamaru replied. "We can't wait. Get the others." Sasuke vanished into the forest, and Shikamaru used the moment to form a strategy. But uncertainty loomed. Too many variables. Naruko and Hinata watched from the opposite side of the clearing. Thanks to the Byakugan, they could see what others missed. "They're disguised," Naruko whispered. "2 of them, hinged to look like rocks." Hinata nodded. "And they're from the hidden cloud. You can see it on their bands. I wonder if our captain is watching us right now." "I hope so. The cloud seems far too interested in us lately." They dared not reveal their presence. "Not yet." "Welcome back," Shikamaru greeted as the others landed beside him. "Here's the plan." The group got into position quickly. "We're aiming to neutralize, not injure," Sasuke added. "Only defend yourself if you must." With a gust of wind, the group launched into action. The element of surprise, their training, and careful planning all came into play, but sometimes, even the best plans aren't enough. Their frontal approach gave the enemy time to react. In a blur, Kuji and Kiba were intercepted, blocked by the rocks that were really elite shinobi in disguise. Sasuke retaliated immediately. Fire style, Grand Fireball. A wave of flame surged forward but was halted midair by a swift barrier of water, creating a thick mist. Sakura and Ino rushed in to rescue their comrades, only for an arc of lightning to strike, grazing Ino and dropping her mid-escape. It was now 4 against 3. Sasuke launched Shuriken, and Shikamaru sent his shadow crawling beneath the mist. One enemy lunged, straight into a swarm of chakra-consuming insects. A jolt of energy surged through his body, scattering the insects, but it was too late. In a flash of blonde and blue, Naruko and Hinata appeared, Naruko striking swiftly at pressure points. Shadow Possession Jutsu, successful, Shikamaru announced, restraining another enemy. The last enemy clapped slowly. 30 seconds, he said, adjusting his glasses. It only took 30 seconds for a group of young leaf shinobi to overcome 2 trained guards. Impressive. The pressure that followed was immense, his presence suffocating. Allow me to introduce myself, he said calmly, a crescent-shaped scar visible beneath his hair. I am Yesu Kamigawa. But for all it's worth, you may call me. The end. And he surged forward. Dash. Do you think they've realized it yet, Kakashi? I'm not sure what you mean, Hokage-sama. The third Hokage smiled. Minato told you the plan, didn't he? Kakashi nodded solemnly. Yes, sir. But I don't think they've noticed the changes yet. And the storm? No negative side effects, replied the Anbu captain. In fact, the only significant report we received was of a tree root creating an opening in their cave after a landslide. Perfect, the Hokage murmured. The storm accelerates latent abilities, including the awakening of bloodline traits. We just don't know how quickly, or how strong they'll become. We still have time to find out, Kakashi said. Yes, the Hokage replied, they'll be on that island for quite a while longer. Dash. Crack. Shino did his utmost to conceal the discomfort surging through him. Behind him, Shikamaru lay unconscious, while Naruko was gradually regaining her stance some distance away, approximately 20 feet. This wasn't a balanced contest, it was clear their opponent, a highly skilled jounin, was merely testing them for his amusement. Why don't you just surrender? Yesu remarked casually, gesturing with his hand in an almost dismissive manner. I might even make things easier for you. Shino had no intention of conceding defeat. However, he was fully aware that the so-called offer was insincere. It was obvious that their opponent enjoyed manipulating them, pushing them to their limits. I appreciate your suggestion, Shino replied calmly, but I must respectfully decline. I didn't think members of your clan even knew how to joke. The man grinned, eyes glinting with amusement. Look around. Most of your team is already out of action, except for that quiet blonde from the Hyuga clan and the determined one with pink hair. Unfortunately, he wasn't wrong. Only Naruko, Shino, and Sakura remained alert and capable after just a few minutes of engagement. Hinata had been the first to fall after a hard strike rendered her unable to continue. Shikamaru had taken a powerful hit to the midsection that sent him flying. Sasuke had managed to dodge the first attack, but was soon incapacitated after their opponent sent a jolt of energy through him, causing him to collapse. See this mark? The man pointed to a faint scar on his temple. I earned this during a match with the renowned mirror ninja, Kakashi of the Sharingan. If I walked away from that, what makes you think you're anything more than a minor obstacle? It's quite straightforward, Shino replied, as Naruko moved to stand by his side. You underestimate us. And then, in a flash, the battlefield lit up with fire. Sasuke coughed as he sat up, trying to recover from the earlier encounter. The energy attack hadn't been too bad, but the impact against the tree had certainly taken a toll. He glanced toward the fiery blaze and muttered under his breath, I hope that did the trick. But to their dismay, the jounin began moving again, even through the flames. Despite visible burns, he advanced with determination, a fierce scowl etched across his face. You insufferable child. He growled. Sasuke was caught completely off guard. The man moved at high speed, launching a series of powerful strikes that left Sasuke barely conscious. He lifted Sasuke by the collar, clearly intent on ending the conflict once and for all. Naruko and Shino sprang into action, but deep down, they feared they were too far to intervene in time. Desperation crept in. Then, in a flash of movement, everything changed. Suddenly, the man dropped Sasuke, staggering in surprise. It wasn't Sasuke who had been defeated, it was Yesu. He stumbled back, clearly overwhelmed. What's going on? He cried out as his form faltered. Leave him alone. Sakura's voice rang out, fierce, commanding, and unlike anything they had ever heard from her before. With a determined expression, she summoned vines from the ground, controlling them with precise chakra manipulation. The plants ensnared Yesu, immobilizing him swiftly and efficiently. The sheer force of her will halted the opponent's advance entirely. He collapsed to his knees, clearly overpowered, whimpering in surrender. Before Sakura could act further, Kakashi appeared beside her, placing a calm hand on her shoulder. Remember your training, Sakura. We place the mission above personal feelings, he said gently. He will be dealt with in due time. But now, our priority is gathering information. Sensei? Sakura blinked, her control over the vines fading as she came back to herself. The plants receded harmlessly. I told you I wouldn't step in unless it was absolutely necessary, Kakashi continued, his tone firm yet reassuring. But this situation called for it. This individual had a purpose for being here, and we need to uncover what that was. You've all done well. The three stood in stunned silence. I'm serious, Kakashi added. This was a Jounin class opponent, and the two others accompanying him were confirmed Chunin. All 9 of you performed beyond expectations. Be proud. Still astonished, the trio nodded as Kakashi gently lifted their opponent and vanished from sight. With their mentor gone, the team began the task of gathering their allies, waking those who could move and preparing for the return to camp. Though their bodies were weary, their minds kept circling back to a single thought, shared silently by Shino and Naruko. Was that really Sakura? Rock Lee's meditation. Rock Lee was well known for his boundless dedication to training, a trait recognized by all his teammates. Often seen sprinting through the village or loudly proclaiming his next challenge, Lee thrived on self-improvement. However, today was different. Lee's mentor, Might Guy, had instilled more than just physical routines into his pupil. He had taught him the importance of mastering his own mind. And so, Lee now sat quietly on a tree stump he had once knocked down during training, completely still, immersed in meditation. Achieving true stillness, despite the natural restlessness of people, was a remarkable mental accomplishment. After many months of practice, Lee had reached a level of concentration where he could feel the energy of the world around him shift. With more time, he discovered something few had ever realized: he could sense the natural flow of chakra in his surroundings. It had begun accidentally. During an extended meditation, as Lee was on the verge of sleep, he felt something shift nearby. Upon opening his eyes, he saw his teammate Tenten emerge from the brush. He dismissed it as coincidence, until it happened again. Slowly, he recognized that he could feel subtle changes in the environment, as if the air itself whispered when something moved. Though he hadn't yet found a direct use for the ability, Lee was confident that, in time, sensing this energy would become as effortless as breathing. As he meditated now, a sudden warmth brushed his skin. Startled, Lee opened his eyes and gasped. Before him, the air shimmered with heat and then burst into a vibrant wall of fire. It had no source, no hand signs, no chakra, no jutsu. It simply existed. The moment Lee's focus broke, the flames vanished like a mirage, leaving only a memory. What in the world? Lee murmured to himself, astonished. Despite being unable to perform standard jutsu, what he had just witnessed was undeniably a form of it. But he hadn't used any techniques, and no one else was nearby. So, how had it occurred? Lee? Called a familiar voice. Lee turned so fast he nearly lost his balance. Lee? Tenten called again, jumping down from a tree branch. My wonderful teammate, Lee exclaimed, standing and waving energetically. Please tell me you witnessed that extraordinary phenomenon. I have no idea what you're talking about, Tenten said with a puzzled look as she adjusted her outfit. Guy-sensei sent me to find you. We've been assigned a C-rank escort mission to the Land of Rice. He wants to brief us before we pack. Understood. I will be there shortly. Lee replied, filled with enthusiasm. Tenten gave him a tired smile. His energy had a way of overwhelming even the most patient friends. All right, Lee, she said, but try not to take forever. Lee watched her leave, cheeks slightly flushed. It was no secret to himself that he admired her, though he suspected her attention leaned toward Neji. Still, Lee's vibrant personality often masked his uncertainty. Over time, the energetic persona became a natural part of him. One day, Tenten, he whispered with a quiet smile, maybe I'll be brave enough to tell you. On the mainland, Kakashi's watch. Kakashi gazed across the water, eyes fixed on a distant island hidden beyond the horizon. He couldn't see it, but he knew precisely where it was. A mysterious barrier was beginning to form around it, an occurrence predicted years ago. 15 years earlier, a similar barrier had emerged. The Hokage at the time, Minato Namikaze, understood its significance. Unfortunately, before he could pass that knowledge on, circumstances had prevented it. The only known truth was that the barrier had long-term effects on those within it, some beneficial, some unpredictable. Years later, Hiruzen Sarutobi had requested Tsunade Senju return for one final task before retiring. What exactly Tsunade did to the children involved in the mission was unclear, but it had been done with care. The young shinobi were placed into a brief stasis while she worked, awakening with no memory of the procedure, believing they had merely slept from exhaustion. Now, Kakashi could only watch. Though he had hidden surveillance devices throughout the island, the strange barrier was impenetrable, even to chakra. The Yondaime specialists had all reached the same conclusion: it was created from an unknown force beyond their current understanding. As Kakashi stared outward, a sense of helplessness settled over him. Despite being a legendary shinobi, he could not support his students directly this time. All he could do was watch and hope. His thoughts shifted to one student in particular. He had once told a falsehood, claiming that the Haruno lineage was not connected to the Senju, to protect a secret. The truth could bring unintended consequences. Even a whisper of scandal around the founding Hokage could harm the village. Kakashi had made the difficult decision to protect his student and the village's legacy, even if it meant bending the truth. "It's time to check the surveillance," he murmured. On the island, Shikamaru's observation. Shikamaru Nara was a testament to how potential could be overlooked. Despite his laid-back manner, he possessed a brilliant mind. His father had once told him to always search for what lies beneath the surface, an essential principle in the shinobi world. Now, on the island, Shikamaru sensed something was amiss. The presence of concealed cameras hinted that their instructor had no intention of accompanying them in person. Then came the unmistakable sight of a purple barrier rising from the sea, an unmistakable confirmation: they were on their own. He hadn't noticed the others gathering around him until Kiba's voice cut through the silence. "What is that thing?" "I don't know," Shikamaru replied cautiously. "But I think now we understand why our instructor said he couldn't help us." "He's not here, is he?" Sasuke added, his Sharingan analyzing the strange dome. "We're on our own until this barrier goes down." "Well, I don't know about the rest of you," Naruko Uzumaki said brightly, "but I think it's time to train. Anyone joining?" The others exchanged confused glances, some looking startled, others intrigued. "Suit yourselves," Naruko said, turning confidently away. Shino adjusted his glasses. "Naruko is right. We've been here for several weeks already. We may be here much longer. I plan to grow stronger during this time." He followed Naruko, and, one by one, the others joined in. "You think we'd let you two go without us?" Kiba grinned, tightening his gloves. "We're the Hino cage. And we're stronger together," Hinata agreed gently, stepping forward. Sasuke nodded. "We didn't come this far to stay the same." Sakura walked ahead with purpose. "When we leave, we'll be different." Huji smiled. "We'll leave our mark on the world." Back with Kakashi. "Great. They're malfunctioning," Kakashi mumbled, frowning at the screens in front of him. "How is that even possible?" "They're not malfunctioning, Kakashi." "Hokage-sama?" Kakashi spun around so fast he nearly lost his balance. "I didn't sense your presence. My apologies." "It's all right," the elderly Hokage said with a kind smile. "You may speak freely." "I tested these cameras myself," Kakashi said. "I can't figure out why they're showing distorted feedback." The Hokage nodded thoughtfully. "It's exactly as Minato predicted. They aren't broken." Kakashi paused, processing the implication. "But that would mean..." "Exactly. That's why each of them was marked with their clan's insignia." Kakashi stood quietly for a moment before asking, "What Tsunade did to them? Will they be all right?" The Hokage gave a measured look, his eyes filled with wisdom. "They will be more than all right, Kakashi. They will be ready." "Still human?" the man asked firmly, his gaze unwavering. "What she accomplished should nullify any residual impact of the storm, Kakashi. As I mentioned earlier, she thoroughly analyzed the individuals involved last time." Kakashi appeared to visibly relax at that. "Even so. They were selected with purpose, Captain. Please keep that in mind." Everyone, retreat to the cave," Kiba called out, leaping from the treetops toward his teammates. I don't know what that thing is, but it's definitely following me. What are you talking, Abu? Kuji began, but was interrupted by a startled scream from Ino as the creature pursuing Kiba burst from the forest. It resembled a colossal ape, though it lacked a distinguishable head. Instead, what appeared to be a mouth full of jagged teeth was embedded into its upper torso, and its chest contorted grotesquely as it let out an ear-splitting roar. The creature rapidly advanced on the team, using a combination of its feet and fists to propel itself forward with thunderous force. Everyone, move, Shikamaru shouted. That's a Wendigo. A what? It doesn't matter right now. He responded quickly to Sasuke. Just know that it's incredibly dangerous. As they raced toward the cave, the creature demonstrated its strength by hurling a massive boulder that tore through several trees before embedding itself deep into the forest floor. Oh no, Kiba ducked and rolled as a powerful tremor surged through the ground, shaking the group. They turned to check on him, prepared to help if needed, but noticed the Wendigo had vanished without a trace. Naruko was just about to say something when a powerful blast of wind from another roar knocked her off her feet. As the group struggled to regain their balance, Naruko focused inward. Something felt terribly off. It wasn't just the creature, it was the entire island. And judging by their faces, the others sensed it too. What's going on with this place? She murmured, eyes scanning the dense, shifting forest. Dear YouTube community. That wraps it up, for now. If you found value in this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected and support the journey. With appreciation. 6 Path Weeb.